Good day everyone. Today I will discuss on how to use factoring in solving quadratic equations. But before we proceed, let us discuss first the steps in using quadratic equation. Step number 1. Transform the quadratic equation into standard form if necessary. Step number 2. Factor the quadratic expression. Step number 3. Apply the zero product property. Step number 4. Solve each resulting equation. Step number 5. Checking. These are the 5 steps in solving quadratic equations using factoring. Remember those steps, as our discussion is continue. Let us have example number 2. The given quadratic equation is x squared plus 5x is equal to -6. For the step number 1. Transform the quadratic equation into standard form if necessary. The standard form of quadratic equation is a x squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. Based on the given quadratic equation, it is not in standard form of quadratic equation. The value of c, or the -6, is not in its proper location. We need to transpose it in the other side of the equation. So, we have x squared plus 5x is equal to -6. Add the inverse of -6, which is +6 in both sides of the equation. Then, we have x squared plus 5x plus 6 is equal to -6 plus 6 is equal to 0. Therefore, the standard form of the given quadratic equation is x squared plus 5x plus 6 is equal to 0. Then, let us now proceed with step number 2. Factor the quadratic expression. In factoring, first thing to do is factor x squared. So, the factor of x squared is x times x. If we get the product, x times x is equal to x squared. We are already done with the factor of x squared. Now, let us move on in identifying the appropriate sign to be assigned in each factor. Then, as you can see, the quadratic equation does not have negative sign, only positive sign. Then, we can say that sign of the two factors is positive. We already done with the sign. Let us now move on to what number will fits to the equation. So, to find the appropriate number, think two numbers when you multiply. The result is equal to 6. And when you add, the result is equal to 5. So, the two numbers are 3 and 2. So, when you multiply, 3 times 2 is equal to 6. And when you add, 3 plus 2 is equal to 5. Therefore, the two numbers are 3 and 2. Now, the factors of the given quadratic equation is x plus 3 times x plus 2 is equal to 0. Let us move now to step 3. Apply the zero product property. We will equate the factors into 0. So, we have x plus 3 is equal to 0. And x plus 2 is equal to 0. Let us move on to step number 4. Solve each resulting equation. So, we have x plus 3 is equal to 0. Since we are looking for the value of x, then, we need to transpose +3 into other sides of the equation. By applying the addition property of equality, wherein you add the inverse of +3, which is -3. So, we have x plus 3 is equal to 0. Then, add the inverse of +3, which is -3, in both sides of the equation. Let us now simplify. X plus 3 minus 3 is equal to 0. Is equal to 0 minus 3 is equal to -3. Then, we have x plus 0 is still x. Is equal to -3. Therefore, the value of x is equal to -3. For the other factor, which is x plus 2 is equal to 0. Since we are looking for the value of x, then we need to transpose +2 into other sides of the equation. So, we have x plus 2 is equal to 0. Then, add the inverse of +2, which is -2. Let us now simplify. X plus 2 minus 2 is equal to 0. Is equal to 0 minus 2 is equal to -2. Then, we have x plus 0 is still x. Is equal to -2. Therefore, the value of x is equal to -2. Now let us check if these two values of x are a solution of the equation. Step number 5. Checking. Let x is equal to -3. Get the original equation, which is x squared plus 5x is equal to -6. Substitute the value of x, which is -3 squares, plus 5, substitute the value of which is -3, is equal to -6. Let us simplify. Negative 3 square equal to negative 3 times negative 3 is equal to positive 9. Therefore, the value of negative 3 is equal to positive 9. Then, 5 times negative 3 is equal to negative 15 is equal to negative 6. Then, 9 minus 15 is equal to negative 6. Since 15 is a greater number than 9, then, we follow the sign of the greater number is which negative. So, we have a result of negative 6 is equal to negative 6. So, we have negative 6 is equal to negative 6. Therefore, negative 3 is a solution of the given equation. Let us also check the other value of x, which is negative 2. Let x is equal to negative 2. Get the original equation, which is x squared plus 5x is equal to negative 6. Substitute the value of x, which is negative 2 squares. Plus 5, substitute the value of which is negative 2. Is equal to negative 6. Let us simplify. Negative 2 square equal to negative 2 times negative 2 is equal to positive 4. Therefore, the value of negative 2 is equal to positive 4. Then, 5 times negative 2 is equal to negative 10 is equal to negative 6. Then, 4 minus 10 is equal to negative 6. Since 10 is a greater number than 9, then, we follow the sign of the greater number is which negative. So, we have a result of negative 6 is equal to negative 6. So, we have negative 6 is equal to negative 6. Therefore, negative 2 is a solution of the given equation.
For more videos on mathematics, please don't forget to subscribe.